Hello, everybody. Deborah Prinzing here. I'm back with a bonus update that we're sharing at the top of this week's podcast to welcome back Katie Lila from Follow the Blooms, Slow Flowers member and past guest of this show. Hi, Katie.
Hey, Deborah. Great to be here.
Yeah, so you've got some big news, and I wanted to share it because, of course, you bring me along on your adventures, so Slow Flowers is part of this.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, we are getting ready, gearing up on the hunt for season two, and who will be featured in that. And we're excited because it's going to be on KSPS PBS, and the goal is for PBS distribution. So that's what we're looking forward to.
Okay, great. Well, let's back up just for people who don't know what I'm talking about because I didn't tee this up correctly. Follow the Blooms was an online streaming show that Katie created, produced, and hosted. And in 2023, you came to the Slow Flowers Summit and produced a segment following the blooms from a farm to the end result, which is sort of the mission of what you're trying to show people in this TV series. We are going to have the chance of sharing that again because you're rebroadcasting it with your new producing partner or your new, I guess, platform, which is public television.
That's right. That's right. Season one, which has the Slow Flowers Summit episode, is airing now, and that episode will be searchable through PBS streaming app, which is the Passport app. So anybody can stream it anytime and watch that super fun episode.
So this is an international event. It's not always here in Bellevue.
Right.
So tell me about the summit.
Well, the Slow Flowers Summit, we're in our 6th year. We have been all around the U.S., and we usually have a 2-day immersion. I call it TED Talk for flower lovers, a gathering of people who care about domestic flowers. A lot of them are flower farmers and floral designers and flower lovers who really want to be sustainable and green in their practices, which includes sourcing local flowers.
Dreams come true. Trucks full of flowers.
Locally
Right.
grown flowers are the best.
Well, Slow Flowers was an idea that emerged when I was doing journalistic work. I was writing about flower farmers and floral design and garden design. When I discovered that domestic flowers are a very small percentage of what is available to us here in the U.S. 80% of the cut flowers sold in the U.S. are imported. And as a gardener, that didn't make sense to me. It's like, why are we importing a perishable product from 2 continents away on a jumbo jet and using all of that, all those resources, when I know that they can grow in my own backyard? Or I might know a flower farmer from the farmer's market or somebody who's in my community that is growing commercially who I want to support financially. Consider slow flowers like slow food. We see the slow food movement. We're aware of the whole farm to table culinary scene and that sort of celebrating the local farmer for the food we eat. Just take that parallel over to flowers. And so I started using the term slow flowers as kind of a shorthand.
Instead of fast and always available, it's this idea of something that's well loved, has all this nuance to it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's really like local, seasonal, and sustainable. For flower farming, it's also like saving and preserving heirloom varieties of flowers that maybe have fallen out of the marketplace but are worth preserving. So all of that became my obsession as a storyteller. And I wrote a book called Slow Flowers that came out 10 years ago. And
Happy anniversary.
thank you. And that just led to people asking me, well, how do I find a florist? Or how do I find a farmer who I know I can get local flowers from? And so that led to all kinds of content projects. I'm just so thrilled that I get to help these talented people who are flower farmers and florists tell their story.
So you're this amazing crossroads where everybody can access each other.
Yes.
And really educate each other.
Yeah, it really is that intersection where the flower farmer and the floral designer come together. And for so long, those two professions have been divided by just a very large global floral culture industry that has had middlemen and all kinds of different layers. And so we're trying to break those down and say, when the florist or the flower lover can source flowers from a grower and have the face behind the flowers and know the farmer, all kinds of rich things happen. And we're creating a sustainable industry that is good for the planet and good for ourselves. Your dollars are going to support a local flower farmer who you've probably met and whose family is, in your community. It really changes your perspective on how special those flowers are.
Flowers, kind of like, art and music, and they have no borders. The language is understood by everyone.
So true. It's so true.
That.
We want to try to elevate the fact that when we buy local flowers, when we source local flowers, when we grow local flowers, we're creating a beautiful, rich environment for sustainable businesses, for saving local farmland, for celebrating the seasons, and all of that is up against this international industry where flowers are shipped from 2 continents away.
It's really quite the legacy that you've built.
Thank you. Thank you. This is the best work I've ever done. I wake up in the morning so thrilled to be involved with the Slow Flowers community and help other people tell their stories and succeed in their floral enterprises. Congratulations, Katie. I cannot imagine just the shepherding that you've devoted to your vision of connecting viewers with where flowers come from and the journey that they take through the artistic process to, in season 1, pretty much like floral installations in public places for people to engage with. You did a floral installation at the Slow Flowers Summit in Bellevue, Washington in 2023. People will see that in the episode. When you're airing season 1 again through this public television in Spokane, say the name of the station again.
Yeah, so it's KSPS PBS, which is a regional station, which takes in, part of Canada, all the way down, a little bit of Idaho, Montana, Washington, half of Washington. So it serves a big region and it airs every couple days on their station through the summer, which is really fun. And then, like I said, searchable for everyone.
That's awesome. Yes. And the farm that you visited actually for this episode was John Coe, Tracy and Nick's farm in Western Washington. Tracy spoke at the summit and they welcomed you to their farm to talk about what they were growing. And I'm thrilled that they're part of Slow Flowers and featured in that episode. So now you said you're kind of planning season 2. How can people get involved if they're interested, if they think that they're ready for the big screen?
Well, what I've come to find out is that everyone has a story, and flower stories are incredible. And when you follow that bloom back to the seed and who grew that and how they grew it, and we know more than anyone just what goes into that flower, right? The end result. Yeah. So I want to keep doing that with season 2. In season 1, I did the designing, and which was fun and exciting, but it was too crazy.
You were all hands on deck for every single episode, right?
Yeah. And I also discovered not only do I want to feature these farmers, these incredible growers, but I want to feature other designers and get the creative process of floral artists, designers from all over, see what they're doing and how they're bringing cut flowers as an interactive installation art to the communities around them, right? So in season 2, the call for submissions is growers, designers, and community connectors. So if you have all 3 of those, if you already have a team you're working with, I know a lot of people have the growers they love to work with. Along with the growers know the community events that they love to grow for, right? So either any one of those 3 or a package of all 3, you submit your idea, your concept. On my website is a call for submissions page, and you can access that through the website. And of course, you can access that through my Instagram, right? Just head to the website, call for submissions for season 2 of Follow the Blooms. And it's a pretty simple application, but we do require a video segment because we want to hear your story, and we want to see your space and get a feel for what you're doing out there, and what incredible ideas you have, right? So I'm really not looking for what we've seen before, which is a lot of wedding work, event work that's, just something fresh. We're looking for ideas that haven't been done before, or if they have been done, you have your very own take on it, right?
Yeah.
Or just really authentic, incredible stories of flowers from your very own point of view. So I love highlighting growers that have, and really, passion is an overused expression. So maybe just a love for your work, and seeing it from your very own eyes, your very own field, right?
I love
So
it.
that's what we're after.
And the videos can be iPhone videos, it sounds like.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I do think that I've always believed that flower farmers are artists, and they are not often given the credit for their artistry. So I'm glad you're creating this opportunity for people to tell their stories in a visual way. So we'll share the link to all of Katie's social places, but also specifically to her website, which is Flowers for People. That's sort of the home website for the show, correct?
Yep, you got it.
And then on Instagram. I'm excited to see what you end up creating and see what season 2 brings. There will still be that whole story arc of who grew it and how it became floral art in a unique way, and who's involved and who's touching the flowers, which I think is so much about your personal commitment to supporting that, just the whole story of how we get flowers into our hands. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Deborah. Yeah. Okay. And today is an exciting day because the Slow Flower Summit episode is debuting on KSPS PBS this very night. And so if you want to, jump on and watch it, then it's at 5:30 on Wednesday evenings. And then the new episode is now streamable anywhere you are.
Searchable.
Really,
you have the universe can watch this, not just people in Spokane.
No, the universe can watch it.
Congratulations. We're so excited to be part of that first season, and also just to nurture you along and get the word out to people who might want to participate in future episodes. Good luck, Katie. What an amazing accomplishment. And just thanks for the leadership you're bringing to the Slow Flowers movement. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Deborah. It's such a gift. Always a gift to talk to you. And I love your movement, which inspired me to create what I'm doing. So it just goes on and on.
I love it. Full circle. Okay. Thanks a lot, Katie.
Take care.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Slow Flowers Show. I'm Deborah Prinzing. Today, I have a guest who I've been wanting to have on the show since I first met her a couple years ago. Welcome, Sydney Fee.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and be chatting with you, Deborah. It's like a very full circle moment.
Well, I remember distinctly meeting you when you came to the Slow Flowers Summit in New York, and that was 2022. And I grew up with a family friends named Fee, so of course I completely remember your last name because it's not common.
Yep.
And then you named your business Fee Fi Faux Farm, and I'm like, okay, this is pretty groovy. Like you just leaned in, right?
Absolutely. My brother actually came up with the name, and as soon as he said it, I'm like, I'm not even like, we're not considering anything else. Like that was it.
I love it. I love it. Well, I wanted to talk about your path to flowers and what you're doing as a farmer florist. Fee Fi Faux Farm is in the Finger Lakes region of New York. So kind of put it on the map for us. Let us know where you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a pretty rural area. So the Finger Lakes are made up of 11 lakes in New York State, and it's a gorgeous, gorgeous area. But we say upstate, but if people actually live upstate, they, they'll call us out for that. But we're about 4 to 5 hours north of the city. Like I said, very rural area. We're in wine country. We're like hour and a half from Rochester, Buffalo, Syracuse, like those bigger cities near us. But yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful area to live. And I mean, there's a lot of amazing things coming out of the area right now.
Yeah, I've heard about all the wineries in the Finger Lakes. Has that kind of contributed to the area being like tourism and wedding destination focus. Is that work for
Totally.
you?
Yeah. So like May through October, it's like tourism season is in full swing. And then right after like peak fall foliage, it's like crickets in the winter. So it's like a very, very much a tourist destination. But I think a lot of people are also like relocating here just because there's so many like I said, exciting things. A lot of like young, just creative people like putting, forward like really cool new business ideas. And so it's exciting to see it growing. And I think it'll only continue to trend that direction. So
I
yeah,
love it.
happy to be here and happy to be growing flowers for this area.
Yeah. Okay, but you're not you're not a transplant. You grew up in the area, right?
Yeah, correct. So I grew up in Campbell, so about 35 minutes from where I'm at now in Montour Falls. But yes, I grew up in the area. I moved away to go to college. I went down south to North Carolina. And it was one of those things where I'm like, I'm going to go away. I'm never going to come back. And then, as I traveled and I lived in Australia for a few months after graduating college, and then COVID kind of was when everything, shut down, and I ended up back here. And then really, I guess at that point, kind of fell in love with the Finger Lakes and this area, and like could then realize and be grateful for all that was always there, but just, didn't appreciate it that much when I was younger.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so interesting, but I think it's kind of a common thread. I hope it's a common thread for my 20 and 30 something sons who are in Brooklyn. And as far as I could tell, never want to come back to Seattle.
Yeah, right.
That's okay. That's okay. I like to visit them there. And maybe I'll come up and see you sometime. I'm so intrigued. Okay, so do you call yourself a farmer florist?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what are the main aspects of Fee Fi Fo Farm? I'm actually going to pop your website up because I was looking at it this morning. Obviously it's winter, but you're just starting to market your CSA programs, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, CSA is a big part of my business and what I do. So I actually just launched for the first time a spring tulip subscription, and that sold out really quickly. So I'm very excited about that. But I do a full season CSA. That's 14 weeks of fresh flowers from July through October. And that's where a bulk of my flowers go during the growing season. I found that format just works really nicely for me. I have a full-time job as well, so I don't really have time to like go set up at markets or anything of that nature. So the CSA has been like a really great model for me and what I'm able to do at this point. But yeah, so
Wow.
it's kind of where it started. And then weddings and events has started taking off from there and just growing more and more each year. And it's one of those things where I wish I had more time to take on more clients. So I'm trying to grow at like an incremental pace, but I get a little
Wow.
sometimes.
That's crazy. Well,
Yeah.
I see this beautiful wedding here. That's gorgeous. So roughly, are you able to do like 1 or 2 weddings a month during the season or?
Yeah. So I mean, like, just to put it in perspective, like last year I did 8 weddings total. This year I have 12. So like still smaller, but my full-time job is in events. So weekends are, it's challenging to split between my full-time job and weddings, but I, hope to continue to add more in each year and, still just like forever trying to find the balance between everything.
I
But
don't know how,
yeah,
I don't know how you do it all. That's crazy.
yeah. So May through October, like I said, is kind of like our big growing season. But I did this past year, we did a wedding late November and we did mostly dried flowers. And then I was able to source some heirloom mums from a local farm that they still had blooming in the greenhouse. So to do a late November wedding in our area and have it be 100% local, I was just so stoked about it. Cause it's like, okay, like here's proof that this is so possible and like we can make this happen.
Well, I have so many questions. One is like the event work you're doing. Is it I can't remember. Is that a winery or?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So I work at a winery full time. It's called Point of the Bluff Vineyards, and that's on Keuka Lake. And I've been there I just celebrated my 5-year mark there. So I actually started at the winery and started my business kind of at the same time because this will be year 5 for Fee Fi Fo Farm. But it's nice because I get to overlap a lot of the same things and passions all in one. And everyone at the winery I'm at is very supportive of everything I'm doing. So I'm able to incorporate flowers into our events there and do flower workshops at the winery. So there's a lot of crossover, which makes it like all the more magical.
It is magical. And it's wonderful that you've been able to blend like, 2 businesses, one, your business, which you can be very entrepreneurial about because you've got a little bit of a safety net of,
Right,
the
totally.
consistency of a job. I love that. That's so great. And then I guess the other thing I want to touch on is this whole idea of you just raving about doing a fall wedding with all local flowers. How did that bug get in your head? And like, how did you decide that your ethos was going to be, focused on seasonal flowers and local flowers? Was that just always from the beginning?
Well, Deborah, that was because of you.
Oh my gosh, we did not plan this, people.
I'm so serious though. Like I started growing flowers in the beginning of COVID. I was just like, I need light in my life. My mental health was just struggling, as like so many people were just dealing with, all the things that COVID brought. So I was like, I just need some joy in my life. I had never planted anything before. I've always loved flowers. Before I started at the winery, I had done event planning in the wedding industry. So florals were always kind of like exciting to me, but I just didn't know too much about them, or like had never grown them. So I planted a few seeds and I was like, I'm just going to see what happens, just probably like it was zinnias and marigolds and cosmos. And I was like, we'll just see if anything grows. And all of a sudden, things were sprouting and I was like, this is so exciting. I have no idea what's happening. I'm learning as I go, but it was just, like I said, magic to me. So all of a sudden I had flowers and I just kind of started playing around and posting some little bouquets on my personal social media. And, it started with family and neighbors just being like, oh, can I, buy a bouquet for so-and-so's birthday? And so it really took off very like organically. And then after one season of growing and just playing around, I was like, there's like a want for this. And at that time, I wish I could remember how it all came to be, but I was just researching the floral industry, and my degree in college was sustainable hospitality and tourism. So I've always had a very strong passion for sustainability. And I came across you and the slow flower movement, and I was like, this is crazy. Like, why aren't more people talking about this? Like, why don't we know about this? And I just kind of like deep dove and was like, there was no question in my mind, I guess, that local and seasonality was going to be like the forefront of everything that I was doing. And it's a challenge at times. I think it's getting easier the further I get, but in the beginning I was so excited and just wanted to say yes to every opportunity. But it's been a lot of like having to step back and be like, does this align with what I'm doing and what my mission is? And at the end of the day, my mission is local flowers, seasonality, and like educating people on that. So it's like, that's the first thing I say to any clients that, reach out about a wedding. It's like, this is what I do. This is what I offer. I'm, all about seasonality and sourcing locally, or, I always say like, I'll provide what I grow or what I can get from other local farms, but I don't really order in anything. I try to stay as true to that as I can. And like I said, so far it's worked. And then having a late November wedding come to life and have it be 100% local. Like I said, it was just like, this is possible. It's like, we can do this, and I can stick to this mission and still create beautiful work and like not feel like I have to source outside of what I care about.
Right. Compromise. And if you had a December or a January event, now I can do it as long as the client's on board.
Right, totally.
It might be just foliages and dried flowers, but you'll make it beautiful. And in fact, we're going to end up this conversation with a video that you shared with me of an installation you did. And that was all 100% dried flowers, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. I think the combination of your hospitality background, and first of all, I didn't know there was any college degree in sustainable hospitality. Is that kind of unusual? That's really amazing, actually.
Yeah, it was like challenging to find, and that's how I ended up in North Carolina. I literally found like 3 colleges that offered it, but I had known I wanted to go to school for hospitality and focus on event planning, but then I took an environmental science class in high school and had an incredible teacher who like had such a huge impact on me. And I was like, that's when I fell in love with the idea of sustainability and, all these things that's like, we need to care about this. We need to talk about this. So I was kind of like torn of like, okay, I know what I want to do, but like, I feel so strongly about this. And Mrs. Palermo, Chrissy, it was like, why don't you, find a way to do it both? Like there's a way to like tie those together. And then, I started doing some research and found, I think it was like only 3 schools I found with any sort of sustainable hospitality program. So I ended up down in North Carolina, and the program was amazing. But yeah, it's definitely not common. At least when I was looking a few years back, it was challenging.
Yeah. What university was it?
University of North Carolina at Greensboro.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. People should check that out.
Totally.
It's interesting because of course we know the whole farm to table culinary scene has been around, for 4 or 5 decades, but has it infused into hospitality, which I'm assuming means hotels and, venues and that sort of thing. Is that kind of what is encompassed by, or catering? I don't know. What does that all mean?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll say like the Finger Lakes specifically is like really focused on this, which is just incredible, and another reason why I feel so passionately about doing what I'm doing here. The winery I work at, we actually have under the same like umbrella company. We have a farm and a restaurant, a couple restaurants, and the farm supplies all the produce. So it's very farm to table. We did an event this past summer, our summer dinner, which we do annually, and every single ingredient on the menu was sourced within 100 miles.
Wow.
So just like I said, really, really cool things coming out of this area. And so I think like the Finger Lakes are a great example of like that farm to table movement, but then that trickling into other areas. Like you said, hotels and venues trying to be more green. Like we implemented a reusable like plastic cup program to get rid of like just single-use disposables at our concert venue. Just little things like that. And that's what the program really taught me was like, we want it to be this big overhaul, but it's like, it's the little things that do add up and make a big difference. So it's like, what can we implement? And the program I did, it was very designed more towards like hotel and restaurant industry. So I kind of had to like tailor it to make it make sense for events. But it's like, there's so many takeaways you can take from anything in the hospitality industry and apply it, to those little steps where it's like, what can we do to move the needle in the right direction here? Thinking about the big picture.
Well, I'm just curious, like when you meet with a couple and they've found you, like, are there some non-negotiables that you kind of lay down the rules, or do you keep it a little bit less threatening to them?
In the beginning, I was definitely more like open because, like I said, I was just so excited, and I was like, "Come to me, come to me!"
I'll take that gig no matter what. Yeah.
But now it's like it's nice to be to a point where it's like, and I think a lot of it's confidence too, right? Of like being like, okay, I feel strong in what I'm doing, and I know I'm attracting the right couples because I've had several successful weddings where it's like they're like so all in on the local and like supporting local and seasonality idea of it. But now it is something I lead with, and I always say like I'll guarantee a style and a color palette, but I don't guarantee any specific flowers just in case I'm not able to access that at that time. If a bride reaches out and is like looking for peonies in November, I say, I love that for you, but we're not the right fit. Like, this isn't going to be me.
or we have dried peonies.
Yeah, right.
Which is probably different. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm always just very transparent with that. And I tell them, this isn't to scare you away at all. I just like to be forward. And I also highlight, like, to me, the magic is in the seasonality. And it's like connecting with what's growing at that time. And like, I always just tell them, like, my mission is to work with Mother Nature rather than against. So we will always highlight what is available to us at that time. And to me, that's like way more beautiful than anything.
What are your key crops? Like, because you are are you like in zone 5, or what growing zone are you in?
Yeah, so I was 5B, and now when I moved over here to Montour Falls, like I said, half-hour difference, we're 6A now. But yeah.
A little better.
Yeah, a little better.
Yeah.
I actually didn't even know that I forgot to even look when we moved over, and I was like, oh, nice. 6A sounds a little nicer.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of your just like staples, summer stuff. I mean, zinnias, marigolds, snapdragons, Lysianthus, which I have not started from seed yet. I'm too scared. So I do order my Lysianthus from Farmer Bailey.
I think most people are going that route of the plugs, or ordering from people who start. Like, we have someone here in Seattle who does all the Lysianthus starts for local flower farmers. She starts from seeds, but nobody else has to. So
yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those dahlias, like status, strawflower, celosia, amaranth. I try to incorporate a lot of things that I know will dry really well too, because I have been getting more into the dried goodies, and that's what gets me through the winter. And I try to also educate customers on that. If people reach out in the winter, I don't have fresh flowers, but I have dried flowers if that's something you're interested in, So I try to always plan that into my crop selection as well, like what will dry well. So that way each week, even if I only have a small handful that's left over after CSA and weddings, I'm like, I'm drying it. I'm not letting any bloom go to waste. Yeah,
I love it. That's sustainable too. Like, there's nothing going into even the compost pile. I suppose the compost pile is just trimmings, but that's cool. Are you growing just in the field, or do you have a high tunnel? I'm trying to picture your land.
Yeah, so we actually live right in town, so I'm a little bit limited right now. My boyfriend and I, our goal is in the next couple of years to buy a piece of land. I do have a high tunnel in storage, but it's not up, sadly.
The promise of it to come. I know,
right? So we're right in town, and we live in a historic village, so the rules are a little strict on what we can do. So I have a 25 by 60 rectangular garden bed that I grow in, and that's enclosed with a 6-foot fence because the deer are in our yard constantly and
Oh,
eating
geez.
anything they can find. So yeah, so that, and then I just get creative too. My mom has a bed and breakfast right up the road from where I live, actually. So I'll snip some of her peonies or whatever other goodies I can find, and then I'm hoping to put maybe a dahlia bed up here just because I am limited with space. So that is definitely a challenge at times of just trying to squeeze in as much as I can, and then dream of the acreage that is to come in a couple years.
Wow. I mean, considering that you work a full-time job and you're still managing to do, like, what did you say? Over 12 weddings are already booked for
Yeah.
2025. I think your cup runneth over, Sydney,
Yeah.
but you're young.
I know. And that's why I'm like, the space limitation, I couldn't do much more right now anyways. Like, I'm pretty much maxed out
Yeah.
with what I can do. So I'm trying to, like I said, just find that balance. And then my goal is eventually to, maybe go to part-time at the winery and then be able to give more to the flowers. But until I have the space to do that, I'm at a good spot right now.
Well, my backyard is 20 by 60, so I can completely picture how much growing area you have.
Yeah.
And that's really impressive because you're probably doing some intensive planting and maxing out every square inch of that space. So
every square inch, Deborah.
Yeah. That's great. Well, why won't the winery give you a couple acres to start growing over there? Or
I know, right? When they listen to this, we'll see what they say.
Either that or they're competing with you're competing with the grapevines. But they must want your pollinators, and your flowers will bring pollinators in. So
right. My challenge with that, which I am there pretty regularly, but it's a 45-minute commute to the winery, so I get some anxiety on not being close to my flowers if I ever need to go,
Yeah, I think other people have faced that too. And, at some point you just think access to land is really important, but access to close land is sweet. Like the fact that you're making it work where you're living now and that your mom is letting you use. Your mom's probably happy to have her bed and breakfast beautifully landscaped with your flowers.
Totally. And then it's like, it's more beauty here for the guests to enjoy. So so that's the goal for this year, is to put in a decent sized dahlia bed. So we'll see how it goes. Time is it's already middle of March, so I'm not really sure how that'll work out.
Everyone who's listening, if you have extra tubers, send them to Sydney. Sydney, now it's connecting the dots for me. Like, was your mother running that bed and breakfast when you were growing up? I mean, and it seems like a natural that you were interested in hospitality.
Actually, so this was all of this happened at the same time. So she got the bed and breakfast. I think it was end of 2019 or beginning of 2020. It was right at the beginning of COVID as well. But she's always been in the hospitality industry. She owned a restaurant years back. She's always worked in restaurants or some sort of lodging. So she's always been in the hospitality industry. So I think that's definitely where that carried over. And then my brother, he went to school for horticulture. So when I started growing some stuff, I just bombarded him with all the questions. In year one, we actually did it together. And he was a huge resource just to be able to because again, I had never grown anything. I had no idea what I was doing.
Right.
So
to layer in the horticulture talent. I love that. That's so great.
Absolutely.
Well, we were when we were planning this episode, you told me that you had an installation coming up, and I asked you to film it so that we could just talk it through and share just one example of something you can offer as a service. So I'm going to pop up the video, but before I do, could you just kind of set the scene and let people know how this came about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I did my first dried installation a few years back at a hair salon in one of the Corning, New York, which is near to me. And everyone kind of blew up a little bit, and everyone was very excited about it. So this one is kind of a spin-off of that one, but I always like them to be very unique and, unique to the person in the space we're doing it in. But so a friend of mine, Lindsay, who is a great supporter of my business, she is an esthetician and has a space. And after she saw the original one I did, she's like, I need something like that in my space. So we've been planning it for about a year. Last year we had talked about it, but I wanted to make sure I had all the right colors and dried goodies because, again, I'm not able to dry as much as I would like throughout the year. So we paused it a little bit so I could really dry some more stuff. But yeah, so she wanted an installation hanging on the wall right when you walk into her space. So again, this was 100% local my flowers that I dried throughout the year or that I sourced and had extras from weddings from other farms. So 100% local, no floral foam or anything of that sort. We just did very, minimal mechanics. I don't overcomplicate things unless I absolutely have to. I'm
So
very,
smart.
very
Love it.
simple. Yes. Until I need to, I'm like, I don't have time for that. So
that's the event planner in you.
yeah, right. So yeah,
Well, let's pop it
mechanics.
up. Let's pop it up on the screen, and it'll take me a second to pull this up, and then maybe you can just narrate what people are seeing.
Absolutely. So I use chicken wire for the base. Chicken wire is what I use for a lot of my installations during weddings as well, because I don't use floral foam at all. I do use ocean pouches a lot for fresh flowers when I'm doing weddings. But yeah, for this, we filled in the chicken wire with some Spanish moss that I had laying around. And that was it. I mean, the mechanics were that. The chicken wire, the Spanish moss, zip ties, and then some like heavy duty fishing line to hang it up on the screw that we screwed into the wall there. So yeah, that was it.
Wow. So you actually designed it just like in the space it was ultimately going to be in.
Yep.
And this is in her entry check-in area.
It's actually right in her space. So like her chair is like where the client lays and stuff. It's actually right in her room where she does all of this. She wanted it in her entryway, but she's like, I want to be able to look at it all the time. So she put it there. But yeah, so I just designed on the spot, put together the mechanics there, and kind of had a general idea of what direction we were going to go. She wanted. I had posted a picture during the actual growing season of like pinks and oranges and kind of more vibrant colors. And she's like, I love this palette. So I said, all right, we'll make that the palette for this. So, throughout the season, I would just tuck any pink and orange that I had extra at the end of the week away to dry for this. But yeah, I start kind of by building my structure and giving me the shape that I want. I love a lot of textures. So I had like some random like branches and twigs in there too. I love the kind of natural, organic, wild. Yeah. That's definitely my style.
That first material, is that amaranth, upright amaranth?
Yep. Okay. A lot of amaranth in here. They just produce like crazy. So I'll just take armfuls down to the basement and hang them to dry. And I'm like, you will definitely make the bulk of this install. So yeah, lots of amaranth and some twigs, and then starting to go in with some celosia as well. But yeah, kind of just building out the shape here.
Yeah. And it's about 2.5 or 3 feet wide, or?
Yeah, I would say so. And yeah, I didn't have to quite get on the step ladder yet, but the step ladder will be coming.
So your friend, your client, she understood that those vibrant summer colors that she saw on your Instagram would mellow a little bit, right?
Correct.
Like he was okay with that.
Yep, absolutely. And you'll see once we get a little bit further, like the oranges, I used some like dried Chinese lanterns, and that's kind of what gave us a little bit more of that vibrant color. Yeah. But yeah, she knew it would be definitely much more muted and stuff. But yeah, we stuck with that kind of overall palette, and I love when clients are like, I trust you, do your thing. I know whatever you'll make will be great. So she was very much one of those and was like, do your thing. And which is just, music to your ears anytime you hear that. It's nice to have fun with it too, and to feel like you have that creative freedom just to kind of play and see what comes of it.
So it looks like the Spanish moss is basically working as, the mechanic. It's holding on to the stems that you're tucking into the chicken wire.
Yep, gives you just some tension to be able to hold it. That way they're not just rattling around in there. But yeah, definitely gives that, again, a great alternative to floral foam or something like that. And then, yeah, ocean pouches are my other love that I use regularly for fresh flowers. But when
I was going to say, the ocean pouch would be perfect for something like this if it was an outdoor, like one-day event, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, this was just going in again, making the shape there. And then you'll see here, as I start to fill in the bulk of it, I used a lot of hydrangeas in this as well, just to give it like the bulk and meatiness. But there's some pink celosia, and that gives us a little bit more of that vibrant color too.
Yes, that's gorgeous. Well, you gave me all these pieces and I edited it, so I did maybe cut. I think that the lanterns are coming next, but yeah, there we go. We're starting to see your hydrangeas.
Yep, there's some hydrangeas again, just to give it the bulk. So yeah, I kind of go around. I don't fill in the entire outline of like the shape of it, but I like to at least kind of see what direction I'm going and then start to fill it in. But really, like, I don't know, like I said, I'm just playing and kind of going with it and using what speaks to me. I brought so much material just because I like to have options and, see how it kind of comes together. So I had I over prepared for sure.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
have way too much than not enough.
yeah, and we were talking about the fact that the roll, the chicken wire roll, is about maybe 36 inches or 22.5 to 3 feet. But when you finish it, it's like almost 4 or 5 feet wide because
Yeah.
of the side elements, right?
Yeah, it's
Oh, there
amazing
we go.
how much it'll stretch out. And that was something I learned the first time around, because the first time I did it, it just got more and more massive, and I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. So I
Yeah,
definitely
it's growing.
do have, with the mechanics as is, I mean, you can really lengthen it out quite a bit and not need, the actual mechanic to be that long. Because I think
Yeah.
that helps the shape too, give it out like that fanned out effect.
It's gorgeous. And this is a one-sided, obviously, but I could see you using a similar technique if it was a hanging element like over a dining table, but you would do it on all sides then.
Totally. Yep. And so what I did for this, so it would lay flat, is I kind of like, after I made the shape of the mechanics, just pressed it down so it was a little bit flatter, because otherwise it does kind of bulge out quite a bit. So I tried to get the backside very flat so it would lay nice and even against the wall. But yeah, if you wanted it as a hanging install, you could keep it more rounded and then just, go at it from both sides for sure.
Yeah, that Chinese lantern, it really adds both texture and color, and I think that hydrangeas do too, but also you've got eucalyptus in there.
Yeah. So the eucalyptus was fun too, and I wasn't sure if I was going to use it or not, because the first installation I did similar to this, I didn't really have a lot of dried greenery, so I used arborvitae, and that dried really well right in the installation, so I had cut it fresh. So
Wow.
unfortunately for this one, I was in a panic the night before and was like, I think I need arborvitae just in case. So my dad went and cut a bunch of branches for me, and I didn't end up using any of it. But the eucalyptus was just a really nice like texture and touch, and I liked the more like muted green rather than like the more vibrant green that the arborvitae would have been. So I was really happy with kind of how that played in there. And then the Chinese lanterns, again, it wasn't when I had dried those earlier in the season, I wasn't even thinking of it for this install. And then I was down in the basement just rummaging through all the dried goodies and was like, wait, these might be super fun, but I wasn't really sure how they would kind of play into it. But once I put them in there, I was like, yeah, like that was definitely the missing piece just to give it like texture and color. I was really, really happy with it.
This other textures that I see in there, you have some status.
Yep.
And status kind of gets a bad rap, but it's that white that you have is really adding a lighter accent that, if you had I don't know, dark purple or something, it wouldn't even be noticeable, but it's very noticeable.
Yeah, I love status. I grow a lot of that, and I try to dry a lot of it because, I mean, for this, it was nice, especially because when you dry flowers, you get a lot more of that muted, those muted tones. So to have the status still be pretty bright, just give it like that pop of lightness. I really enjoyed how that came together, especially with the lighter hydrangeas. It kind of just helped it all flow, and not, because sometimes it is hard with dried flowers because they can be a little dark, and I wanted this still to feel vibrant. So just those little pops. I mean, even though the bulk of it was like the darker, more muted amaranth and stuff like that, just those little pops go such a long way in just brightening it. And you can see there I'm kind of clustering it, so it has a little bit more of like a visual impact than just one or two stems here or there.
It's almost like you're color blocking with that. The other thing I'm noticing, Sydney, just how beautiful the shadow play is. So the sense there is a little bit of dimension and movement. Obviously, you're touching it, but even if it's just hanging against the wall and her spotlight is on it, it's quite beautiful to have that shadow effect.
Yeah, honestly, I was so focused on the flowers, but looking at this video, you can totally see it, and I love that. Like the branches and the Chinese lanterns. Like I said, I love textures, I love shapes, I love it to look a little crazy. Like that's just my style. I love like that wild aspect.
Yeah. You added straw flower there at the end too.
I just went in with a hot glue gun, and I also had a lot of straw flower where the heads had popped off, so I just hot glued those right into some of the little pockets that needed a little bit more bulk, and that worked really well.
I love it. Congratulations. What a beautiful piece.
Thank you so much.
I know your friend loves it. Now, how have you told her to take care of it?
So don't touch it. No, I told her, obviously dried flowers are so fragile. She did mention, because she was like, if I want to move it at some point, I was like, just call me. I'll come and move it. The first installation I did a few years back in the first salon, they ended up renovating. So I went in and removed it from the wall and placed it in the new location. And that one's been up for 3 years and still looks incredible. Wow. So, basically just don't touch it too much.
I mean, I guess if it gets dusty, get the blow dryer out and
Yeah,
just give
right.
it a little shot. Well, this has been so much fun. It sounds like you're already sold out on your CSA for summer.
The spring one is
Oh,
sold
on the
out.
spring.
Summer
Okay.
one I still have available. This was the first year doing the spring one. I hadn't done that in the past. I had kind of just, I don't know. I was so focused on summer, like spring, you know, I wasn't really getting like maximizing what I could do there. So this year I was like, all right, I'm going to try a spring tulip subscription. And I think people really liked like the shorter window too. Cause I know like the full season CSA is, you know, a financial commitment for sure.
Yeah.
So I think having that like shorter option, I mean, they swooped it right up very quickly. So then I got excited and added a few more and those sold out. So I was like, all right, I got to stop it there. But
Oh,
yes,
congratulations.
thank you.
That's so great. Well, anything else you want to add before we wrap up? What about workshops at the winery? Do you have any scheduled for this year?
Yeah, so I'm working on getting a couple bouquet building workshops on the calendar. We usually do one at the winery I'm at, and then I've created good relationships and connections with other breweries, wineries, distilleries. Just being in the industry, it's nice to have that connection and networking already. So I typically do a few of those in the summer, and then in the winter we do a lot of wreath workshops.
Yeah.
The first 2 weeks of December, late November into early December, is just all in on wreaths again around the area, doing them at different breweries and wineries. So the workshops are another aspect of it that I love, because being that I don't go to set up at markets and stuff in the CSA, I'm not usually interacting with all of my, you know, CSA members. So the workshops are a really nice way to, again, like spread the message of what I'm doing and, you know, give my spiel at the beginning about how important it is to know where our flowers are coming from. And we have a lot of fun with those. So the bulk of the workshops that we do. And then I hope to, you know, expand that more one day when I have a space to do all of that at.
Oh my gosh, we're going to be following your career. I hope that people will follow you on social media. We'll share all your spots in our show notes
Yes.
at soulflowerspodcast.com. And also, I'd love to get some more photos of some of your events, workshops, and weddings, and maybe even just some of these gorgeous flowers that you're growing. I wish you a great season, Sydney. It's so fun to see you again. Not in person, but we've met in person a couple times. So the next time we have an in-person summit, I'm sure we'll see each other then, and it'll probably be in 2026.
All right. Well, I look forward to it. Thank you so much, Deborah, for having me. Like I said, you are such a huge mentor to me, and everything that you're doing and putting out is so, so important. And I'm grateful to have found you in the slow flower movement, and, you know, being able to really model my business after that is so important to me. So thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks. Well, we're inspired too. I will talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.
All right. Cheers. Thanks, Deborah.